Hi there, I'm Kathy Barker from Software Solutions, and the purpose of this video is for me to give you a heads up on what you can do with Microsoft OneNote. Now, Microsoft OneNote's been around for quite some time. It's been part of the Office suite. And it really never took traction until the event of the cloud. Once the cloud became available and people were able to access their information from various locations remotely and through the internet, then suddenly OneNote could stand and have a place. Now, you can open OneNote in a variety of places. You can open it through Teams. You can open it through your app launcher. As you can see here, I've got my app launcher open and I can see OneNote here. But you can also open it through SharePoint, and you can also just open it as an application in the same way as you open Word or Excel for desktop. There's a desktop version of OneNote, but there's also a web or online version of OneNote as well. And that's the beauty of OneNote. You don't actually have to have a OneNote for desktop. You can use the online version of OneNote. Okay, so why do I like it? I like OneNote because it doesn't have any confines that the other programs have. For many years, I was just like, we've got Word, but we have to stick within the constructs of Word. That is, we have to stick with A4, A3, landscape, portrait. We have to stick within a document. So it's not really a repository for gathering stuff. It has restrictions. I like Excel as well, but again, it has constructs such as rows, columns, worksheets, and they don't always fit either. I really just want a scrapbook where I can gather information from a multitude of places, put them into one location, and from there I can organise that information, either send it out to Word or send it out to Excel, but I've got this repository where everything can be put. So OneNote talks about notebooks. That's what the file is. A file in OneNote is a notebook. And really, I think it's synonymous with a scrapbook because you literally can gather stuff. And so once you gather stuff and you're not restricted, I really like the fact that you can then synchronize what you have in your OneNote with any device. You can synchronize it with your phone, your tablet. You can get access to it wherever you have an internet or a web browser. So the synchronizing is really great. And then the collaborative side, being able to share that notebook with whomever you want to. So we can make it as part of Teams. So we're gathering information as a team, or I use OneNote to just gather stuff for myself, or I'll make a notebook where myself and another student will collaborate together using the notebook. So those are the sorts of reasons I love OneNote, and I'd really like to show you what OneNote's capable of, and I'm sure that you will find a place for it within your everyday. So hang in there, stay with me. I'll do my absolute best to really show you what you can do with OneNote. All right, let's fire it up. I'm in my app launcher. I'm going to fire up OneNote. So here it shows me a variety of notebooks that you can create. So let's say I want to go into this particular notebook here, which is on my SharePoint. So now I'm actually in the online version of OneNote, and I can see that there's my notebook. In fact, if I hit this drop down, there's a variety of notebooks, but I'm sticking in this notebook. This notebook is broken into various sections, and I can see that here as well. Now, there's the online version of OneNote and there's the desktop version of OneNote. Now, the online version of Word or Excel or OneNote or PowerPoint is always a poorer cousin in terms of rich functionality to the desktop version of whatever app you're in. So for that reason, I'm going to go to the desktop version of OneNote because it really is the better of the two. But still, if you don't have the desktop version, use the online version of OneNote. It'll be a game changer. So to switch to the desktop, I'm going to go to File and I'm going to edit this notebook in the desktop version of OneNote. And here we are here. Boom, straight into it. And I guess why I like the desktop version, it's got the ribbon at the top, much like Word and Excel. Lots of rich functionality, lots of things I can do. Okay. So let's start, not with these notebooks, though these are mine, and you can see you can have a lot of them. Let's start creating a new one. let's say I'm going to plan a certain event, for example. So I'm going to go File and I'm going to go New, and I want to create a new notebook. I can choose where I want to save it, on the Software Solutions OneDrive or my personal OneDrive or my SharePoint site, or even any place that's actually local to this PC. I'm just going to go this PC. I'm going to go create in a different folder. If I click this, I get to say exactly where I want it to go. So I'm actually just going to put it on the desktop so I can delete it after this session because it's just a play one. There's my desktop location, and then I give it a name. So let's just say I'm going to do a certain project management notebook. So I've got a number of projects on the go, and I'm going to use OneNote to manage those projects. So I just go create. At this point, it says your notebook's been created. Would you like to share it with other people? So I can invite others and we can collaborate on the development of this notebook. But if I'm not ready yet to share it, then I'll just go not now. So I'm going to go for this option here. Now, at the very bottom of my list is where that notebook will reside. So I'm just going to scroll to the bottom. Here's my notebook here. I can see a little sort of like circle here. What that means is it's synchronizing with the cloud. My desktop is on the cloud. So it's actually synchronizing and just making sure everything's in place. Now that it's finished synchronizing, I'm just going to hit this little chevron to collapse it. And then I'm just going to drag it up to the top of my list. And I always like to put the notebooks that I'm currently working on, because I have so many, towards the top. So I might put it right at the top. All right, so here's my project management notebook. So you can create as many notebooks as you like. You can open them and close them. So let's say I want to close it, just like you open and close a file in Word or Excel. I can right click and close this notebook. It disappears off the list. And then I think to myself, no, I want to work on that notebook now. So I go File and I go Open. And if I go open, I'll actually see that particular project notebook, or I can search for it. So I'm just going to open it now. When I open it, of course, it's going to go back to the bottom of the list. So then I just scroll down to the bottom of the list. I simply click on it and drag it back up to where I want it to reside in the list. So create as many notebooks for different things you're working on, open them and close them as and when you need them, drag them up and drag them down in the order of things. Okay, and collapse and expand just with the chevron. If I right click the notebook, I can go into properties, and if I bring this into view, I can change the name of the notebook. Maybe project management notebook is too big, so I might just call it PM notebook. So you can change the name that's displayed. You can change the color. So if I want to make it green or what have you, I can do so. I might make it blue, and then just OK. So here's my project management notebook showing in blue. Okay. Once we move away from notebooks, the next sort of thing we need to understand is sections. Our notebook has one section or multiple sections. This has just got one section here, and let's just say I double click and I just put ideas. So this is the section I'm going to chuck ideas into. But then when it comes to specifics, I need another section. That's what this button does. Lets me create a section, and maybe this is job 112233. And maybe I have another section where this is another job I'm working on, which is 445566. So you can have as many sections as you like. You just create them with this little plus here. And you can have one section or multiple sections, depending on how much information you've got and how you want to organize that information. Now, if you do have a lot of sections, you can actually organize them into groups. Let me just create a couple more sections to reflect job numbers. And so I've got a number of projects going on at the moment, for example. Okay, let's say I want to put these all into a section group called projects, current projects, or maybe even completed projects. Let me show you how to do that. If I right click a section, maybe this section here, any section, I can not only add a new section, which I did with that plus, but I can create a new section group. Now, if I create a new group, there it is there, and then I just give it a name. So I'll call it current projects. Now I need to rename that. Right-click, rename, and that's how you rename. If I right-click a section again, I can create another new section group, and I can put completed projects. So I've created 2 section groups and I've got 5 sections. Now, if job 1122 is a current project, I will literally drag that and I will drop that onto that group called current projects. Here it is here, and then I'll just drop it here and it's put it into that group. Now this little arrow here takes us out of the group and back up to the parent groups. So that job's gone into current projects. Now 4455 is also a current project. So I drag it onto current and I drop it to the right of this one. And then I go back. This job's actually completed. So I'm going to drag this one, drop it into completed and just pop it here. I'll go back up, grab this job, drop it into completed and pop it here and then go back up. So if you've got a lot of information, you can put them into different groups. It might be that you have a group for 2022, 2021, and then you have a group for 2023. And so you can archive or put sections into different groups. In my own Kathy's notebook, for example, where it's just a proliferation of all sorts of stuff, if I click on that to give you an example, I've got 2 sections and 2 section groups. If I go to personal, that's where I keep all my personal stuff, like my recipes. And if I go back, if I go to software solutions, that's where I keep all my work stuff, is in that group, and I go back up again. Whereas this is just quick notes about anything in particular, and this is just general. And I'll go back to my project management notebook. So think about, do I want one section? Do I want multiple sections? Do I want my sections to reside in groups? Now, the other thing that we need to think about is some sections can be password protected. You may have noticed when I went to Kathy's notebook, the general section, this section is password protected. Certain sections you may want to hide from certain eyes and just make it that only you can see what's in that section. So if I went to my project management and I went to here and I created a section that was maybe access codes, and I wanted to keep that protected from people seeing what's in it, I'll right click it and I'll protect this section. Password protect this section. And so here I'll set a password. Maybe I'll just enter 123, confirm it 123. Of course you would put something much stronger than that and then okay. But I'm going to lock all. By locking all, this section is now password protected and nobody can view the pages or the information in this section unless they know the password. If I click here, this little window, let me bring it into view, appears and I simply enter my password and okay, and now I can see what's in that section. But the moment I lock all, you can no longer see what's in that section. So think about, do I need to password protect some of my sections? And I'll go back to ideas. As far as managing any of your sections, I think the easiest way to approach that is if I right click ideas, what I can do is I can create a new section group, password protect a section. I can even apply a section color if I want it to be yellow, nice and bright. I can also make a link that I could then send or put into an email that when people click it, it jumps them straight to this section. I can merge this section with another section. If I think I got too carried away and I really didn't need 4 sections, I could merge them all into one. I can move a section or copy a section to another notebook. Maybe I want to duplicate it in another notebook or move it to another notebook. I can even delete a section, rename a section, and export a section. So I think with regards to sections, right-click is the easiest approach. But within each section, you then have pages. So let's say I create another new section, and let's say I call this meetings. In this section called meetings, we've got one page called untitled. Let me just close this password protection pane. Now each page, its name appears here, which will affect what appears here. So if I went to week 1, this is the week 1 meeting. If I then want to add a page, I hit this and I can say week 2. So each week we have a meeting, and so each week I simply add a page for that meeting. Another way you could add a page would simply be to hit this little plus here, and that will also add a new page. And the other way, of course, is just to right click and create a new page, or Control N will also create a new page. So I've got 6 weeks of meetings, say, for example. Now, also you'll notice that the date and the time automatically appears. You can delete these. You can even change them. But if that meeting actually occurred in the first week of this year, then I'll say that that was in January, and maybe they're every Wednesday. So that was the 4th. And then this one here, of course, the next week was the 11th. So you can go through changing the dates or just delete them. Now, the other thing you can say is, actually, I want ruled lines. So if you go to view, you can say, give me ruled lines. And so that can be sometimes easier to work with if you've got ruled lines, especially if you're working with a stylus. But I can just as easily go back and say, I don't want any ruled lines. Ruled lines if you're doing like sentences, but you can also ask for maths paper if you're doing sort of like equations. So you can put ruled lines. You can also hide the page title. You can even change the page color. So I can go for a different color. So there's certain page setup options here, but I wouldn't get too bogged down with those. I'll go back to home. Now, if I insert another page, week 1, maybe this was the agenda for that meeting, and maybe I'm also going to then insert the minutes for that meeting. And then maybe there's some background information. So you can insert as many pages as you like. But maybe these pages are technically sub-pages. They go under week 1. If I drag agenda to the right, I've indented it, indent this, indent this. In fact, I can indent that one further. So you can have an outline structure, which means that I can hit this chevron and collapse week 1 and then expand week 1. So easy enough to add more pages this way or right click, add more pages, but then you can make them sub-pages, or you can promote the sub-pages and collapse the sub-pages. I'm just creating sub-pages and promoting and demoting by dragging to the right and dragging to the left. But you could use these options here. You can also collapse. I'm just using the chevron, but you could also collapse sub-pages here. So as many pages as you want. If you needed to, you can also drag pages up and rearrange them and drag them down. Really easy, and then drag them to the right. If I needed to put the background into ideas, I'd just drag it up to ideas and then drag it down under entitled. So you can easily move stuff between sections and between notebooks. I could drag it to another notebook entirely. Here we go here, and put it into the general section and drop it down here. So I've now moved the background page into the general section in the acquisitions notebook. But if I drag it back to the project management notebook and back to the meetings section and back under minutes, it's back where it came from. Then all I do is just drag it to the right to demote it and turn it into a sub-page. So pages, you can add them. You can just as easily right-click and delete them. You can rename them, but just change it there. You can delete them. You can make a link that if you emailed it to somebody and they clicked on that link, it went to that particular page in that particular section and in that particular notebook. You can also move a page or copy a page between sections and between notebooks, but I just take the dragging approach because it's nice and easy. So really anything to do with pages, just like sections, right-click and away you go. Now, one thing I am thinking is you may not be seeing your pages on the left-hand side of your screen. By default, they appear on the right-hand side of your screen, which I think is really awkward. So I actually go into File and I go into Options. And then under Display, I actually tell it to move the page list to the left, show the notebook list on the left. So that's why these are both on the left. I just find it's easier to navigate if they're both sitting on the left-hand side. Here's an option, create all new pages with ruled lines, if you really do like the ruled lines. So there's a few little options here with regards to display that you may want to explore, but I'm just going to go okay. We've looked at notebooks, we've looked at sections, we've looked at pages. Now let's look at content. First of all, when you come to a page like, say, minutes, you just click and start typing. Click and start typing. When it comes to OneNote, text resides in what we call containers. So this is the container that I can easily move around, and I don't have the confines of A4, landscape, portrait, or rows and columns. I can literally put my text anywhere. Let me just take a moment to put some more text in. Okay, I actually went with creating a new page. Our meeting is with regards to our marketing strategy. So I created a new page, and on that new page, I simply typed a number of things that we need to look at with regards to our marketing strategy. So we've got some text to work with. So the text automatically, as I mentioned, appears in a container, which can be easily moved. You can also resize it to the right, back and forth. You can't resize it vertically, but you shouldn't need to. Its height is going to be determined by its content. You can also notice there's this little sort of grey arrow thing here. And when I click that, what that does is allows me to drag that particular item up and down through the list. So if I want to put it under Review Global Marketing, I would just drop it there and it's moved it. And if I go undo, it'll put it back to where it came from. So you can rearrange the items in your list simply by dragging up and down. And undo is really handy to just put it back. Okay, so move things with this, resize and move your container. But sometimes when we keep typing, that container gets really large. And so I may decide that really I want to put some of these things side by side. What you can do is split the text container. If I go to Insert, there's this option here called Insert Space. And if I click it and then drag, I can actually make a gap about, let's say we make a gap here. And so I've actually now split that container into two just by using that particular button. And I'll just resize this option here, bring this in, put this next door to it. And so you can easily split a container. If I feel I need to split it again, just where Determine Internal Systems is, I will choose this button here. I will then drag about there, and I've just split that into a separate container. So feel free to break your containers into separate containers if they get too large. Okay, so my marketing strategy is now not just a text container on this page. I've actually broken my marketing strategy down into a number of sub-pages. So I might just move that back up. So I've got marketing strategy, and under that I've got review the business strategy, develop the campaign concept, create a localization strategy, internal training communication, and I've put text into a number of pages that fall underneath the marketing strategy. So what I can do now is if I go review business strategy, I can select all this text. Now Control A is the quickest way, but I have to press it twice. I want to turn those into to-do items. So I click my to-do option here. I can then go through and tick things as they are completed, which is really, really handy. I do like this capability. So I'm going to mark that most of the things in this particular phase have actually been completed, except for maybe for one. If I then go to develop this campaign, I could drag down or press Control A twice, turn those into to-dos, and I can say that we've completed some of the options also present on this page. If I go to here, I also want to turn those into to-do items, and I can go through all my lists and actually turn them into strategies that need to be completed. Now, the whole idea with to-do is then I might decide, okay, I've got a series of pages here with check options. I really need to create a list of things that haven't been completed. So what we are offered in OneNote is this Find Tags option. When I go Find Tags, it actually says that we want to group the tags by tag name, so that's why it's grouping it by to do. We can scroll down and see that these are all the things that have not been done because it's showing only unchecked items. If I took this off, I would be seeing a combination of checked and unchecked. Now, this is this whole page group that it's searching, but I could ask it to search the entire section group, this notebook or all notebooks. So there's a scope, a search range you can employ. But I'm going to go for this page group. I want to create a summary page, but I want to group things by, you can say group it by title. So that's the title of each page, which I think is a better way to do it. So you can also control not only whether you see just the unchecked items, which I'll show, but you can also control, do you want to see it by date, by section, by page title? And I'm going to go page title. Page title, show me unchecked items in this page, create a summary page. And so that has created a summary page down here, which I will then drag up and put under campaign retrospective. And I'll just give it the name, unchecked week 1 items. So then I can tell that at the end of week 1, these are the things that still haven't been done. Those things that are done under Analyze Business Model will not be included. So review business strategies, if I go back to here, unchecked, there'll be one item under review business strategies. Now it's put it in alphabetical order. So there it is, they're not in the page order. So there's one thing that hasn't been checked. I notice here there's a little sort of like symbol, and if I click that, I'm actually taken to that item that hasn't been completed. So the to-do tags are really good. They allow people to tick things off as having been done, and then at any point in time, if you need a list of all the things that haven't been done in that page, in that section group, in that notebook, across all notebooks, you can actually use the Find Tags option to bring up this pane and say, I want to create a page, a summary page of all those things that haven't been completed yet. I can close that, and there's my list of things. And this is really handy to go to the source of where that item resides. And so there's still one thing on that page that hasn't been completed. Now, the beauty of a scrapbook is its ability to also collect things from a variety of locations. I'm going to go to the background page, for example, and just click underneath the heading. If I go to insert, the sorts of things you can insert appear here. Now, maybe I want to insert an attachment just like you do with an email. So if I go File Attachment, I can put any background files that I need to. So I might just go to Working Folder, Software Solutions, and I might just grab some supporting details. So there's a PDF file there that I'd like to attach. I then choose, do you want to insert a printout, which is actually a visual of what's in that document, or do you actually just want to attach the file? And I really just want to attach the file, and there it is there. If I need to attach another file, File Attachment, I'll just grab the other file I need and I'll attach it as a file, or insert the printout, but I just want to attach the file. So now that becomes a copy of that file now resides within that notebook, and anybody working on that notebook will now have access to those background files. You can insert basically spreadsheets, a new one or existing one, Visio if you've got it, any file attachments and any printouts. It doesn't matter what the file type is, it will handle it and let you insert it. The other thing you can do is screen clippings, though I do have a preference still for the snipping tool. So I'll just press the Windows Shift S key and that will fire up the snipping tool. And then I'll just proceed to copy anything that I want to insert into that particular page. And then I'll just go here and just paste it, Control V. So the snipping tool is still the best. And if you didn't know the shortcut key, it's just Windows, logo key, and Shift and S to start the snipping tool. Then drag and then paste. So see how easy it is, like a scrapbook, to just put text over here. You can move it around if you need to, put a screen dump over here, put a couple of attachments here. One's a Word document, one's a PDF file, and you can also insert pages of pictures, of course, as well. Now the other thing you can do is you can insert a video, so you can actually record a video. I won't do that because that'll probably upset the recording I'm currently doing, but if you hit the record video and then you click start, you could actually record yourself or anything and then save that. That would put that into this notebook, and you could even right click and save it as an external MP4 file. I could probably insert audio as well if I wasn't recording. So you can record video and you can record audio, and you can insert those into this notebook if you don't feel like typing. But one of my really favorite things is that from any application, whether that be the internet, Word, a PDF file, anywhere, you can always print to OneNote. So let's say I'm on the internet. So I'm on a website here, and let's say I think this is really interesting. I want to keep a record of this. So if I'm on my phone, where I don't physically have a printer, or I'm anywhere and I think I need to keep that information, I'll just go Control P to print from any program, and I'll simply print it to OneNote for desktop. And if I go print, it will eventually come up and ask me what section and what page I'd like to print this to. So here it is asking me, where do I want to print this to? So I'm going to print this to my project management notebook. I'm going to print it to my ideas page, and okay. And then what we have on the ideas section is we have a printout of that website and all the information that's stored on that website. And I can then call it whatever I like instead of printout. So if I find something interesting, I just straight away print it to OneNote or share it to OneNote, and then I've got a record of it. And that's how I collect ideas about different things that I come across. So let's say I have a Word document, for example. Let me bring this Word document to view. This Word document, I may want to actually print it to OneNote for whatever reason. So if I go Control P, from any application, you can print to OneNote. In my list of printers, I will see OneNote listed here. And so feel free to send a spreadsheet, a Word document, a PDF file, a web page, an email. If I have an email, for example, let me go to Outlook. So let me go into an email, for example, this email here. And if I want to send this to OneNote, then I'll simply go Control P and I'll choose the OneNote printer and I'll print. Note will then ask me, where do I want to put that printout? So again, it might be another idea. So I'll choose ideas, and when I go OK, it's created another printout. So from any program, I really like the idea that you can collect information, gather information from anywhere just simply by sharing it or printing it to OneNote. Another really good feature is if I go back to the Home tab in Microsoft OneNote, you can also email this page to somebody. So say I go to meetings, say I have this page here that I want to send to somebody, I will just email that page. This will bring up this email, which is the exact page from OneNote, and I can then just say who I want to send it to and add any extra narrative that I need to. So you can easily email a page which has got a checklist in it from OneNote. If you are about to have a meeting, you could use OneNote to keep notes about the meeting. Let's go to our minutes page, for example. If I go to meeting details up here, I can actually insert the details of a meeting that I have in my Microsoft Outlook calendar. It gives me a list of things that are occurring today, but I can choose a meeting from another day. I can go to my calendar and say I actually want to choose this meeting, and I'll insert details. This meeting, and insert details. It immediately pulls through the date, the participants, if there were more than one participant, and now I can start writing notes about that particular meeting. There are actually some pretty cool page templates if you are dealing with minutes and meetings that I'd like to show you. So for example, if I went to Insert and I went to Page Templates, and I went Page Templates at the bottom, it brings up this panel on the right hand side. Now your templates are organized into academic and into blank and into business and even into planners. So if I needed, for example, to do a simple meeting notes, then I would choose this template, and it actually creates a new page. Here it is down here, and I can just drag that up. And here is a template where I can put agenda items, which are automatically numbered because the numbering option has been chosen on the Home tab. But we've also got bullet points, so attendees. And then I can just simply click here and put a title for the meeting. And then I can just click here and add more details about the meeting. So there are some pretty cool templates. That was a simple meetings 1. If I go simple meetings 2, it looks like that. If I go to informal meeting notes, it looks like that, and you just edit it. Announcements, discussions, the next meeting location, agenda notes, etc. And if I've got a personal meeting notes, it looks like that. And detailed meeting notes looks like this. So there's some pretty cool formal meeting notes as well. But also, if I'm not doing a meeting, perhaps I'm just doing a project, I can do a project overview. So the name of the project, the name of the company, the name of the presenter, description, project goals, etc., etc. And so it gives you a head start. And these are all turning up as pages in this particular section. There's also simple lecture notes if you're doing lecture notes or detailed lecture notes. Lecture notes and study questions. Maths and science class notes, and even a history class notes. If I have to generate a simple to-do list, or maybe a prioritized to-do list with high, medium, and low. So that gives you some examples of what you can do. And what you can do is you can actually choose one of these to become your default template instead of a blank page. Or you could create your own template and save the current page as a template that others can then use that has got your company logo, etc., etc. So you can add to these templates. If I wish to get rid of all these pages, I'm sitting on the last page. If I hold the Shift key and click on the first page, then I get that range of pages. If I then proceed to right click, I can simply just delete those pages. So you can actually select a range of pages and delete them, move them, etc. Now, if I do have a collection of items in my list here, I might click on this list and I want to add it as a task to my Outlook because this has been assigned to me. So if I go to Outlook tasks, I can set this for tomorrow. And if I do so, that will have added that to my task list in Outlook. It's got a flag now, and it will be in my task list to be done tomorrow. So you can share tasks that have been assigned to you with Outlook. So I hope this little video has been of value. I hope you can see some of the strengths that OneNote provides. It really is a scrapbook that you can organize in any way you want to. You can be very organized and have pages and subpages and sections and section groups and a variety of notebooks. Or you can be very disorganized and just have a notebook with a section in it, one page in it, and just chuck everything all over the place and get organized later. It really does allow you to grab things from a variety of location, whether you create and insert a video or an audio, or whether you actually insert attachments much like an email. But you can also insert tables and spreadsheets and Visio diagrams. And I really like the to-do tags where you can create interactive, checking things off as having been done, and then using the find tags to find those things that haven't been done. It's quite nice that it also connects to and integrates with the meeting details in Outlook and the Outlook tasks. So Microsoft OneNote, it might be worth considering. Enjoy your day.